Hi, so it's Leanne Nicol, yeah, co-owner, director, and founder of Irish Luck N.P.C, or trading as Irish Luck N.P.C Jobs SA Archangels, as well as Gatvol. Each now going to be a separate registration on its own, different contracts, different registrations. Um, Finally today, after thousands of parents stood together, um, 5 schools around us have opened their doors for, well, documented 247,000 children that are forced to go to school with the new law passed that your children will be taken away or you'll be locked up if your child's not in school by the age of 6. Schools has demanded deposits. Children are not always welcome everywhere. I'm one of those mothers that have an undocumented child. I've been busy with Department of or Home Affairs and Florida Clinic and Discovery Disability Smolin and Unilever for the last, I don't know, since he's born. And then with my previous daughter, I was lucky enough for Discovery to actually pay the accounts with her birth. And just after that, we ended up in the shacks with also suspension of everything and medical aids, etc. Broken. Um, in regards to food, we're running on empty. We have nothing. There are loads of food standing ready for us. We have fought very hard for these contracts to actually feed people. We don't sell food for a living, so obviously we can't cover the costs of fuel. I am disabled. My husband is a CPO, close protection officer. Yeah, was an addict for 23 years, cleaned up my life, and decided I'm going to fight the right fight. Tried many times to get up and relapsed with bipolar as well. Um, Severe trauma and mental breakdowns and everything that happened to me. Um, Mostly broken due to severe work stress. And then everything else that followed after that. Ja, en dan het onze partij. We've got a political party as well as a movement and a company that will be called Gatvol. All South Africans, well, everybody in South Africa is Gatvol. The elections are coming up. I definitely don't want to be the president, but I definitely want some followers that are also Gatvol. So, here we go. I have a personal fight with Unilever South Africa, Smolin, Liberty, Alexander Forbes, Sanlam, debt review, administration, loss of property, loss of dignity, children that are damaged, um, shacks. Not so bad to be in a shack, but when you have to pay to live in a living hell, then yeah, it doesn't become so free at the end of the day. Um, Done everything wrong in my life possible, guilty of everything definitely. Declared mentally insane. Um, yeah, fighting for my rights and my children's rights in this country and on the streets and as a human and a disabled mother. Put my husband and my family and everybody through 7 kinds of hell. 99.9% disowned and disassociated. Yeah, all my fault, by the way. And then husband changed his life long before me. Has been fighting very hard to get us to the top. Few people out there that needs a shout out. Not at liberty to mention names, they know who they are. And then obviously a big thank you to my family that has stood by me up to a point where there was no return. Sorry to all those that I've hurt and screwed over in life. Unfortunately, from a very young age, I've believed in fuck or get fucked. So I was kicked around and abused enough on the streets, in children's homes, etc. And with those that you always say you love most. En bloed is nie dikker as water nie, was nog nooit nie, sal nooit wees nie. En ja, people can't stand together. They're so worried about the color and the race and the Christianity and the non-Christianity and all the cuck that's going on around us and the politics. And each little person has their own little mission. And to be very honest with you, I don't see what the fuck the government or anybody else is actually doing for us. And yeah, I do use crude language. That's just who I am. I've accepted it. Ek se mal sauce and yeah, I'm probably on a lot of people's hit list by now. And not popular at all. I don't really have friends. I consider only 4 people my friend in life, and that's personal. Christian status, lost. I grew up in a cult called Divach. They wouldn't like me telling you that, but it's the truth. Irish, Jewish, French, regte pavement special, Suid-Afrikaner. Poor, obviously, declared disabled. Workman's compensation never paid out. My divisional manager, after, I'd say 7 years, and after asking her to come back and getting an answer no, after she destroyed myself and my family and my children and our future and everything that we had, especially mine and my kids, and all the fights I've had to fight, Marlene de Pree, and then a regional manager that's quite frankly quite useless. Maybe on figures he's good, and bullshitting everything and making everyone do his job for him at the end of the day, and then you get a 10,000 rand reward check for driving very nicely. Top award winner many years in a row, unfortunately in small and wrong skin color, and then obviously with the divisional that sees you as a threat, and then says to you, she could pull you through a ring the day she met you. She's the reason that you actually snapped. I started there in 2013. 2015, I completely snapped, and my husband ended up taking me to a doctor by the name of Dr. Demoisha, which then determined that it's bipolar, manic, triggered by extreme work stress. And so did Dr. Shaun Brooks, my favorite doctor in the world. Only doctor that actually listens what you've got to say. And then Dr. Janssen, Manette Janssen van Veren, amazing person, one of the strongest women I've ever met, and one of the straightest people I've ever met as well. One of the reasons I do love her as well is she's been in our family, so she understands a lot of our history. My aunt was murdered near Sterkfontein. No conclusion who actually did it or what actually happened there. Written off by everybody. Don't really care. I drive a shit ugly car because I lost all my cars due to the fact that Discovery and Smolin can never communicate and actually get one, how can I put it to you, one final thing through at the end of the year, or sometimes it was like every 3 months, and then they still take away your benefit when your son is born under emergency circumstances, and you end up with a child that is basically a bit squint, and it's oxygen deprivation and only has 3 heart chambers. Mother mutilated. My son's head was cut open in Flora Clinic, private hospital. Emergency C-section. Tubes tied, forced. Told me I'm a bad mother because I'm an addict. Meanwhile, forced to take a P test on bipolar meds, etc. Trying to cope with the fact that I'm pregnant and bipolar and hormonal with another baby of not even 1. I wanted my kids. I loved them to bits, and my circumstances were completely different when they were conceived. Cleaned up my life, changed everything. I think my biggest achievement in life, coming from where I came with very little opportunity, caused by myself mostly, and then having a disabled mother as well, and a father that cracked due to family issues, etc. from a very young age. I think I did pretty well getting in at Smolin and Unilever in the first place, and then I really do well in key accounts. So this whole Irish Luck mission is about being competent. So I've always been so competent but so disabled because I'm bipolar, And I've been listed everywhere as disabled and not able to do any work. Okay. So I needed something to stimulate me, and it actually got me going. As a child, I grew up very hungry, and there was always a shortage of food. And I think my biggest reality check as a kid was when I actually pushed trolleys to try and feed my mother, and my dad was all over hiking trying to find jobs as a code 14 driver. I think the hardest place I've ever lived in my life was Bloubergstrand, in a flat that we were basically almost squatting in because we couldn't afford rent. My little sisters didn't have food, and my family actually didn't care. Yeah, myself, um, my father, and then obviously my mother had a lot of money from the Du family. My father worked fucking hard for what he got from them. And then the house, he was actually married to my mother when my mother died, was taken and ripped out under him and sold. Only 150,000 of that money ever ended up in a trust fund. Um, yeah, that money went towards my sister's education, which I felt very bitter about, and I'm sorry for ever hurting them about it. I did it with a good heart. I just got to a point in my life where I also got tired of fighting and battling to get somewhere. Um, my husband and my lives have been completely ruined with what happened with disability and the drop in salary, and your medical aid and things ends up taking almost your whole salary. And we were committed to houses and cars and debt and everything at that point in time. So, some clever little lawyer recommended that we go under debt review as well as administration. There's not a thing in this world that we can actually apply for or get credit for or anything, or ever have the hope of settling with the debt, with all the interest and all the lawyer fees and all the judgment and delivery fees included. So we made peace with the fact that we live cash. It's hard when you have children. I drive a piece of shit because every car I've had so far, after them actually coming, and when you're disabled, they come to your house and they come and take all your the electronic devices and all the little documents and files on all the staff, and they're not actually interested in the files on the staff or where the staff are in your coaching and mentoring process and skills development that I've spent hours and hours doing. So yeah, and then they take their little call and they tune you. Oh, bye. Thanks for the call. Sign the form. Check all the mistakes, faults, scratches, whatever. Very cold, Alicia Ling. After that, being very honest with you, I never ever heard from them again. I've kept my injury on duty and workman's compensation case open for almost 7 years. I think it is just on 7 years. They've never submitted documentation or ever continued paying for neurology or any of the problems that I've had as a result of an injury on duty in a parking lot while on duty at Checkers. Pick and Pay Hyper Centurion, a lifestyle center. In the time I worked there, I had amazing staff that I never ever thought I could develop or encourage or motivate in an industry where you're not seen, you're just another number. And I believed in the small and dream and the values. And if you actually Google them and you look at my life and my kids' lives and everything we've lost, and my husband, and the damage and the moving, and if I really have to tell you everything, and it'll take time because I have memory lapses as a result of the injury on duty where I actually sustained a brain injury, neck and back, and I didn't have the use of my one foot and my one side for quite a while. I kept going for therapy and for all of those things, and then with the bipolar and that and a manager that didn't care, I was admitted like several times to Bell Street Hospital, and also under emergency for an attempted suicide because I had an argument with my aunt about my daughter after all of this happened. And she told me, and I'm an incompetent mother, and I lost it because it's part of our blood. That's just how we are as women in our family. Yeah, and I hit out the window because she was hiding from me, and I gave my daughter to. First, I hid in the plants all over, and then I decided this is not worth it, and I drank 480 tablets, trying to keep my kids. Most of the people that's ever tried to take my kids is my actual family. Never mind what I've done to survive and to feed them, and for my husband as well. He literally had to fight to get a job when we were in the shacks. Um, yeah. Uh, so there's a lot about this story that not everybody knows. Not a very nice person. Been a bitch. Always have been. I had a very soft heart. Always helping people. Still do. I've just become very hard in other ways. Um, Not many people are there for me when I ever need them. I'm being very honest. Not even in my own family have I ever been able to knock on someone's door and say I'm coming home. Um, Best friend. Mm, Worked with her since I turned 16. Another organization. Helped her work, pay off her house. Charity organization. Yeah, I must say. Hot and cold I've met, but that's been quite extreme. And then, yeah, to the community of Krugersdorp and everybody else that knows me out there and that's got something to say, please say it. I'm guilty of it all. And you know what? I'm proud to say it. I did it, I got the t-shirt and the cap, and I walked out the other side. You will never take away the skills that I've actually learned and know the struggle that I've walked to get where I am today. And until you've walked where I have and actually done what I have, and my children and my husband, to get just to where we are, where we have a roof over our heads, he's employed by a wonderful employer. Um, Amazing people that change lives. Hard, but they definitely see potential in people where there's no hope and change their lives for good. Um, to the countless people out there like me that's Gatvol, from schooling right through to. Sorry, my son is being very naughty. Buig die boompie terwyl hy jonk is, want anders luister hulle nie. Hy, gaan maak gate in iemand anders se gordyn. Oef. He's stout. And anyways, yeah, so I have one unregistered son that has always made me so fearful and anxious because my account was never settled with Florida Clinic through Discovery Health because Discovery Group Life and Smollen suspended my benefits the day my son was born while having seizures, neurologists and everything. I never even met my son when he was born. I actually broke out of ICU on blood transfusions. Like a lion, blood running everywhere, butt sticking out, ripped out cords. To go and meet my son for the first time. Yeah. And yeah, all I saw was this long little boy with these beautiful blue eyes and big feet. And my husband took 3 days off from work. They were not very happy when he was born. But he was an amazing blessing. I only found out that I was pregnant with him while in Brits with my husband's family that have no time for me. Past is the past. I've forgiven them, and hopefully one day they will accept me for who I am. I don't fit in, but I am who I am, and I'm part of the family whether you like it or not. I'm married to my husband, which makes me a nickel, no matter all the other blood I have in me. Yeah, his life is private, none of anybody's business. His story is his own. This is where his story ends and mine continues. At the end of the day, yes, we walked apart for a very long time. I met him when I was 15. We were together from the night of my 16th birthday. Walked together. yeah, and a week later I moved in with him, and he's been my hero and my protector ever since. We've abused each other terribly to the point where we hit each other in front of police stations and things, but fighting out of passion. Because when the one's gone too far or the monsters have got too much, the other has to try and calm the other. And at the end of the day, at that point in time, I only had one son, Brandon, which is in a special needs school at the moment in Rhoda Park. He has an above average IQ and hates going to school every day. I cannot apply for a bursary with the school because I have to lie and say that my husband's overseas, and I earn a private disability, or I don't know for how long, because I'm so capable but disabled. As long as I don't earn a physical income, yeah, or I don't know, be able to do something that earns the same income where I'm competent enough, but I'm not. So, yeah, this is what I do. I find food for people and I sign contracts for fun. It gives me a kick. My feels like I'm back in retail. Yeah, and if something's not right, I do tend to snoop around until I find the truth. And then, yeah, I don't like to destroy people. It's not what I'm out there for. I just like people to understand where we stand. And when it comes to food, I'm there to feed people. We need fuel. We have no fuel. We've been battling for 3 months just to get enough mealie meal, gas, spices, chicken, and volunteers that don't try and kill each other or put everything in their handbags when they're supposed to cook, or actually have differences in race, culture, nationality, etc., to cook a pot of food in peace. And then obviously for the families to attend that all hate each other as well. And they loathe me because my name is not Uber Eats. I've walked very far and I've gone to extremes to feed my children, and I'm not a delivery service. We have started a food share program. Thank you to Nosh. We'll always be grateful to you, still am, for the food that we get from you. And even though you think after the gift wrapping and everything that happened and the costs and everything involved that we are enemies, we are not. I'm actually our enemies with no one. I say my piece, and sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong, but I've come to the conclusion, prove me wrong. Unless you come with real evidence to prove that I'm not right, because I always gather evidence. I'm worse than, I don't know. I'm paranoid. I have OCD as well. I didn't realize it. So all the clutter around me, because I'm always scared somebody needs something or there's something that you don't have. Coming out of the shacks, losing everything, people taking your heirlooms, and yeah, having to sell all your shit to feed your kids and actually wake up every morning and be able to be a mother or a father. Yeah, it's been hard. Um, my husband is my hero. He's the only person in the whole wide world that could actually help me to rehabilitate. Um, it's very hard for me to form connections with anyone. Um, when I tell you I love you, I really mean it. If I tell you I hate you, I really mean that too. There's nobody that can work with me or understand me or try as hard as he does to get to me. And I used to take substances as well as bipolar medication that gets shoved down your throat by the government hospitals, by doctors that can't even speak English or listen to what you have to say, or for 5.5 months at a time. There is no doctor because the government hasn't paid them, and that is in mental. Sorry.